And we are back with the great Coach Lou Holtz this week. Coach, it is so great to see you.
Thank you. It's just a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to this little program each and every week, and I hope the people do as well.
Hey, it's a highlight of my week as well, Coach. We've got a lot to talk about. One of the biggest stories right now that's really capturing headlines and a lot of the public conversation is what we witnessed in the Oval Office last week. President Trump and J.D. Vance standing up for the American people, for the respect for our country, in what many called a clash in the Oval Office with President Zelensky of Ukraine. And I wanted to get your reaction to that because, I heard a lot of people really cheering because we have never seen a president and a vice president stand up for the people in that regard. And I want to see, what your thoughts were when you witnessed that exchange.
I'm always proud when our president stands up for this country. And when he says America first, he doesn't just say it, he actually means it. But I wasn't surprised that they walked away from everything. If you read his book, The Art of the Deal, he said if you don't walk away from it twice, you're going to lose the deal. He said you don't negotiate without having the courage to get up and walk away from something. And he's so true on it in so many things he's done. As unfortunate, both my grandparents came from Chernobyl in Ukraine. Her name was Tykonovich, and I can't begin to tell you how many times I'm so happy that my mother's maiden name wasn't taken. Tykonovich, Tychonieviche, 13 letters. Every time I signed an autograph, I think, boy, thank God we didn't take her name. But, they were both from Chernobyl, and I grew up in a Ukraine family. I understand that. And Ukrainians have done a tremendous thing, and they're great people. They have great morals and values and character, and their ability to fight against overwhelming odds shows. But by the same token, we got to have peace, and you can't have peace without people coming together to negotiate. Now, I understand that President Zelensky is worried because he's going to have to make the compromises, but he's the one person we have some leverage over, and that's where it should all start. So it's just unfortunate that this happened, but it will all work out. It'll be washed down the drain. Everybody will forget about this, but I don't think we'll ever forget the peace that will come about eventually because of this, and because of his desire to walk away from a deal is so important.
Yes, it is. And obviously, President Trump announced this week that he's pausing military aid to Ukraine. Obviously, they wanted a public apology. President Trump has said, we're ready for peace to move forward. It doesn't seem like Zelensky is. How long do you think it will take for this deal to be finalized?
Well, I think that Ukraine cannot continue the war without receiving financial aid from particularly the United States. And with that being cut off, it's just going to be a matter of time. Always follow the money. And when you follow the money, they can't keep going without financial assistance. And President Trump didn't feel we could ever get peace if we continued to allow one side to continue the war. Now, what was Russia wrong for going in and invading Ukraine? Absolutely they were, but two wrong doesn't make a right. We got to get this, and the first place we can start is with Zelensky because we have some ties with him. We have some pull on him. In other words, we have a lot of things that we can force him to do that we can't with the Russian president. However, once we get them at the table, then we'll work things out and iron it out. I think that was a great deal that the United States is tempted to pull off and will pull off in the very near future about having a deal made with Ukraine about the elements that is needed for so many different things. We will get that thing done. There's no doubt about it. And I think that, to me, if I was President Zelensky, I'd say, well, hey, if we're in business with the United States and they're in our country doing these different things, Russia is not going to bother them. And so I think that we have to get a start somewhere. You can't have a peace without both sides firing at one another. When you look at the thousands of people that have lost their lives, and I might add, not necessarily for the right reason.
Amen to that, Coach. Want to ask you about another story. A lot of people are talking about baseball legend Pete Rose, who passed away last year. President Trump says that he will pardon him. Obviously, he's got so many career accomplishments we were talking about before our conversation here, but 3 World Series titles, 17-time All-Star, 3-time batting title winner, Rookie of the Year, World Series MVP. Just, so many accomplishments. I understand that you knew Pete Rose well. Tell us a little bit about that and your thoughts on the president's move to issue a pardon.
Pete Rose not only marched to the own drummer, he brought his own band, I might add. But here's my vintage. We're almost the same age. And I was coaching at the time, and so we came in contact at a lot of different sporting events. He was a rare individual. You had to admire his talent. You had to admire his achievements and what he has done. And with a bat, he was absolutely tremendous. Now, he was also with a great baseball team, I might add. The Cincinnati Reds at that time were at the top of the world, and they were great. But what he has done cannot be minimized. I said, Ty Cobb was a hero growing up. Oh, nobody'd ever be as good as Ty Cobb. Nobody will break his record. And lo and behold, records are made to be broken, but Pete Rose broke a lot of them. And he was just a great baseball player. He didn't do anything illegal. He did something that was illegal in the major leagues, but not in society today. So I think it's unfortunate that baseball didn't take this initiative before to say we're going to put him in the Hall of Fame. Now, he didn't do anything. He didn't do drugs. He didn't do all these other things that gave him an advantage over everybody else. He did it by hard work and dedication and personal talent that he had, but he worked hard at it. And he played the game the way it should be played. Every game he played, he ran out every ground ball. He could bunt, he could do everything, but he was just a great baseball player that was worth the price of admission.
And Coach, so what do you think it'll take for Major League Baseball to change their stance, and what would be your message to those making that decision to potentially finally induct him into the Hall of Fame?
Well, we can always find reason to hold people out. We had the great baseball player with the Chicago Black Sox at the time who bet on the game. That was different. Pete Rose never bet on his own team. He only bet that he was going to win. And why did he do that? I think maybe out of boredom. He was just a great competitor. Everything he did, he wanted to win. And I can't believe that Major League Baseball didn't make this decision before, because baseball used to be the sport. I followed baseball. I had a book that all the great things, the Hall blunders, Goose Goslin made 4 errors on one play. Just they should have done this before. I think it's the right thing to do. Was he proper in betting on his team? No, not at all. But that one thing, against everything else that he has accomplished, is amazing.
It really is impressive, and we'll be watching for that pardon to come, I believe, in the days ahead here from President Trump. Well, Coach, this topic is something, especially as a female, really hard to wrap your head around. Senate Democrats last night voted against protecting women in sports, voting against a bill to keep transgender women out of girls' sports. I think about this and consider, I'm sure a lot of these Democrats in the Senate, they have daughters who have been athletes. You think about all the work that they put into their sport, the time and dedication that's involved. And yet again, they turn on their backs on these young girls that are facing this in so many different sports. What's your take on this, and why Democrats can't get on the side of common sense here?
Well, the one thing that's obvious to me is they don't care. I remember when Title IX first came in, and I have 4 children, 2 of them are girls, and girls have a desire to compete like everybody else. And when Title IX came out, I had to fire a coach, and the guy I had to fire was the individual who was a coach of the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick. He had hired him as a graduate assistant, and when Title IX came in, said you can't have this many assistants. You have to let somebody go. So last in, first out, had to let him go. But it was a great thing. It's been great for athletics. It's been great for women. And now we're saying, okay, that doesn't matter. Title IX doesn't really matter. And that's insane. That's absurd on it. So let's just give everybody common sense and say, let's do what's right. And what is right is to let women compete against women because men have a big advantage when it comes to the biological background of a man. And so I really despondent that they wouldn't even let it come up for a vote because they didn't want to go on record saying, I'm against women. And it just bothers me. I always look at it and put three questions on everybody. Can I trust them? And I can't trust the Democrats to do the right thing. Lord knows when you vote against women, that's not right. The second thing is they committed excellence. Do they really care? And the third thing, do they care about the people in this country? How could you have daughters and say, no, you can't be fair, you can't compete, we're going to do it our own way? It's just insane. And I just keep looking at it and say, what in the world's happening to this country? And I did a podcast most of the year, and it was basically predicated on the feeling that how do we get the culture of this country back? You know, I'm 88 years of age. I'm an old man by any stretch of imagination. I remember what the culture of this country was like, and it's gone downhill. President Trump's bringing it back. How's he bringing it back? By common sense. Let's just do the right things, and we'll bring our culture back. But no, we can't do that because they weren't allowed to vote. So that's not right. That's not proper. Just to do the right thing for the people in this country, and particularly the girls in this country.
Coach, how do you think we got to this place? I mean, sliding so far backwards, and it's such a small percentage of the population that feel they need to change their gender, get involved in women's sports if they're a biological male, and yet you have all these Democrats that, again, like you said, are voting against women. They're not supporting women. How did we get to this place? Because I think 10, 20 years ago, this wouldn't have even been a conversation.
Inch by inch, we've gotten there where we've become so ultra-liberal in so many different areas. And when you look at it, you say, well, why in the world wouldn't somebody vote for that? They worry more about the party than they do about the country and about their constituents. And nobody's going to ever convince me that was the right thing to do or that they believe it. They don't believe that, but they had to march the party line. And unfortunately, that's where this country has gone. It's about politics. It's about what's in the best interest of my party. No, what's in the best interest in this country is what's in the best interest of the people that occupy this country. And one of them is just do the right thing. And it's right to allow women to compete against women. That's what Title IX was, and it was a huge success. But now the Democrats say, no, Title IX means absolutely nothing. And you can't do that. That's no way in this world you can rationalize that. And you go look at everything that happens. And I don't wish this to be a knock the Democrats, but I keep looking back and say, how did we get here? And little by little, pretty soon, you find out. It's like the frog. You put him in a little kettle of water and you start turning up the heat, and he won't jump out because the heat grows gradually without him ever noticing. That's the same thing that's happening in this country. Let's get back to common sense. Just what's the right thing to do? How are the things we believe in important? And having women have the opportunity? Absolutely. You look at women's basketball. Women's gymnastics is unbelievable. I mean, those women they look like the Olympics on the different. Let's give everybody a chance to follow their dreams and to compete fairly. That's all we ask. Let's do what's right.
I'm with you, Coach. And if you look at a lot of the polls that have come out recently, the majority of Americans are also in favor of protecting women. And so I'm curious, before I let you go, is there, even though it's a minority population, is there a solution here that benefits everybody, where everybody's happy? Because listen, I hope and pray that we can get back to common sense that we remember from decades ago, and you particularly remember. But if we don't get back to that in the coming years, is there a solution where everybody can be engaged in sports and all sides are happy here?
Yes, ma'am, I do. And I believe it comes down to having the same purpose. Why do we have a country? Why do we have a government? We have a government to help the people. And when we lose sight of that, we have loyalty to the party. We lose common sense because we have our own objective. We right now, we don't have, we have a problem. There's a difference between having a problem and having a difference of opinion. When you have a difference of opinion, you can solve it because everybody has the same goal, the same objective, have things they want to get done. That we can work that out. We can work out a difference of opinion. I remember when I grew up, I was a Democrat. I remember the election in '54. I was in high school. The election's over. The results are known. The will of the people has nearly been shown. We'll get together, show by our deeds. We'll give old Ike the backing he needs. We'll get together, let differences pass. I'll hug your elephant and you can kiss my ass. But that was, don't ask me how I remember that so many years ago. But that's because we had a difference of opinion. We didn't have a problem because we had the same objective. Make this country as good as it can, give our people a chance to be successful, give everybody an equal chance. The thing about this country, you're not guaranteed success in anything you do. You should only be given the opportunity to compete against everybody else on an equal basis and equal footing until we get our educational system straightened away. That's not the case. And I've, on another show, let me talk about education because I grew up in a different environment maybe, but let's just get back to common sense. What's the right thing to do? Our heart tells us the right thing. If we do that, we'll never have a problem. We'll have a difference of opinion, but we won't have a problem because we have the same objective. As long as you have a different objective than I have, we have a problem because we are going to agree on the solution because I want one thing done, you want another thing done. That's not what made this country great. What made this country great, we had the same objective down the line. Politicians, workers, and athletes.
Coach, what do we need to do to get you to Washington to give an address to all these stubborn lawmakers here in our nation's capital? I think they could learn a lot from you.
You know, when I was younger and John Boehner was, he's a friend of mine, I've been to Washington twice and spoken to the Republicans at their national convention. It was a great thrill and a great honor for me to be able to voice my opinion. So this is who I am. I'm just an old man that doesn't think very well maybe and stumble with words from time to time, but I have a strong feeling of what this country used to be and how we get back there. And President Trump on the right track because he keeps talking about common sense. And I don't know why we call it common sense because it's so uncommon for people to have.
You are very humble, Coach. Again, I think a lot of these Democrats, if they would listen to you, they could learn a whole lot. And they've got some catching up to do. Coach Holtz, great to have you again this week to talk about some of the big topics. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. And once again, my opinion is worth exactly what you'll pay for it, which is absolutely nothing. But it's nice to be able to voice your opinion on different things.
Well, Coach, we are always glad to get your opinion. I think it's worth quite a lot. I'd pay top dollar for it, to be honest, and it's just a privilege to be here with you.
Thank you for having me.